Okay, so today we actually have quite a fun video. We got who's the winner, Gojo or Sukuna, as part of JJK. If any of you guys have been watching or reading the manga, I know the manga's getting a little bit juicy. I'm waiting for season 2 right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I already know what's going on because I spoiled it for myself. But let's get straight into it, anyways. I don't want to. As the video goes, I'll share my opinion essentially. But
here, the content creating Jujutsu Kaisen guys that I like to call my friends. I don't know if they agree or whatever, but we've got Broken Ronin.
Yo, what's up? Happy to be here.
Diavolo.
Yo, what up? Of course I'm your friend, dude. Duh, of course.
obviously, I have to bring in the. You know what? Yeah, I was gonna say, he probably does JoJo content as well, but obviously JoJo cares.
No operator.
How we doing, everybody? And yeah, I'm your friend too.
Yeah, all right, cool. You guys make me blush. And you know, not a newcomer to the channel. One of the maybe the first Jujutsu Kaisen person I collabed with, the fake weeb.
What's up, guys? Yeah, Zeno. We've known each other for I think maybe more than a year, so of course we're friends, dude.
Yeah. Wow, it has been a year. All right. So we're talking about Gojo versus Sukuna here because in the latest chapter, of course, we all know by now, Gojo was released from the prison realm and just started speed running, just taking down the top guys. But of course, that didn't happen. We ran into a little snag there, which is good. You know, we have a month for them to prepare, which can extend the story, very much needed. But it was clearly set up that Gojo versus Sukuna is going down. They almost kind of set up like their own little fight card here. And like the main event is essentially Gojo versus Sukuna. So let's just, like, whoever wants to go at it. First of all,
before they go, you know what, let me share my opinion first of who I actually think is strong between Gojo and Sukuna. And I think it's Sukuna. I think it's Sukuna by far. And the reason why is because the thing is, yeah, I know a lot of people are saying, oh, Gojo's busted, limitless, 6 eyes. And I promise you, I'm not going to make a stupid, but Sukuna is stronger, cleaving this mantle. I'm not going to make a stupid argument like that. Think about it like this. In this manga panel right here, yeah, like, it clearly shows that 15 finger Maharaga Sukuna is on the same level as Gojo right now. And think about it, he's missing 5 fingers first of all, and each of the fingers here aren't like just simple additions in power, they're multiplications essentially. It amplifies his power every finger he has. So because that's why even Jogo, I think it was Jogo, he got it wrong when he thought he knew what Sukuna's power was, because he rated himself 9 fingers for Sukuna, but he was nowhere near. Because every time Sukuna gets a finger, it essentially just multiplies his power. So think about it. If Sukuna had all 20 of his fingers right now, Gojo would probably be struggling right now. But obviously, they're clearly on the same level in the same like weight class, if that makes any sense. Even disregarding the 10 shadows, but another argument I essentially have for this, I don't think anyone's ever really thought about this before, yeah? But the way I see it is like this. If you believe that a full power Megami, yeah, that has been fully realized can beat Sukuna, then yeah, sure, Gojo can beat Sukuna. But if you don't believe a full power Megami is stronger than Sukuna, why would you believe Gojo can beat Sukuna? And the whole reason why I'm saying that is because the whole thing with the 10 Shadows user in the past and the 6 Eyes Limitless user in the past, both fighting and stalemating each other. Because what that basically says is that their power is similar. Excuse me. It's similar in strength anyways. So, if you believe Megami can defeat Sukuna, then sure, Gojo can beat Sukuna. But if you don't believe a full power Megami will be able to defeat Sukuna, why do you believe Gojo can do it? Like, and also another thing as well is that I feel like Sukuna as well, before we continue on the video as well, another thing that I don't think people also take into account is that Sukuna is clearly a lot stronger when it comes to his own soul. And by that I mean Sukuna legitimately just, when Mahito, like at the start of the series, was trying to mess around with using his curse technique, mess around with his soul, Sukuna just said no. You're not allowed. He just said no. I'll give you one more chance. If you touch my soul, you're going to feel consequences. That's basically what he said. So, and clearly, like when it comes to JJK, the soul is something that's very powerful in the series. Also, I have one other point as well, but just going off on the soul as well. Like, I feel like they've also made it clear that Sukuna just has like a stronghold in that sense when it comes to Jujutsu. Like, he is probably has the strongest soul, and that becomes with his like domain expansion with Malevolent Shrine. I know Gojo has the Limitless Void, which is a very strong domain expansion, but the only ones that's been ever labeled divine is Sukuna's essentially. and Kenjaku's, because it was similar to Sukuna's, were obviously being being an open domain essentially. And the last thing I also want to say, what was I going to say as well? So I said the thing with the we haven't seen his curse technique either. So this is the whole reason why I'm kind of like, yeah, I feel like Sukuna's just gonna pull something out as well. It's like, I feel like it's not even gonna be the 10 shadows. I think it's gonna be he's gonna pull his own curse technique out, because clearly he has something that we haven't seen. And I think the reason why he's hiding is because he's too strong and doesn't need to use it, which he said against, I think it was I want to say Yorizu, like the one that had all the creation powers. Like, he said he didn't need to use the shrine against her, and then he also said that I forgot what else he said. But basically, he said he didn't need to use the shrine against her, and that's because he's too strong. He didn't need to. He used 10 shadows instead, which means that he clearly values his curse technique over 10 shadows. I'm going into a whole analysis. Like, let me put it like this: I just believe Sukuna would win because it narratively speaking, it makes sense for Sukuna to win. It kind of makes more sense when you see this panel right here that Gojo clearly he has confidence that he can beat Sukuna because he is labeled the strongest. But I think when you actually deep it and you think about the actual power that he has, Gojo is probably going to struggle very hard. But
you think this is going to happen? I mean, it kind of has to. And if it does, like, what do you foresee happening in this fight?
I reckon Gojo actually loses the fight. So there's just this weird feeling that I have that, you know, like the inner world that Yuji has in general kind of goes into the like second part that we want to talk about later. That for some reason there's just all these like images of Yuji chilling out at picnic tables with everyone and having a good time, and I'm just like, what's going on here? You know, what is actually going on with these picnic tables and Yuji? You know, like, is there actually some like kind of hidden meaning to it? Him with like Gojo and like all of the other people from Jujutsu Tech, like in his you know, in the opening sequence to the story, in the first opening, you see all of them there, and then later in the story you see Yuji with obviously Choso. So I'm wondering, is Gojo going to lose this fight, and then later on Yuji is possibly going to have to, like, I don't know, there's some weird stuff going on with Yuji that I can't really put my finger on yet and tell exactly what is going on, but I've just got this feeling that Gojo isn't actually going to come out on top. Like, the foreshadowing of him saying like, yeah, he's gonna win, maybe isn't actually true. You know, like, maybe he was talking big at the time, and he's
and the reason why is because we know Gojo is arrogant as well. Like, Sukuna is arrogant, but I'll let them see if they say anything about it, essentially, because they might say something that's quite specific, but I don't want to bring it up yet, just in case they do say it. But there's also another panel, like, I forgot who asked it. I'm not sure if it was. I think it was Geto or was it Geto? I don't remember his name. Either that or Kenjaku. Like, I think they said, like, are you Satoru Gojo because you're the strongest, or are you the strongest because you're Satoru Gojo? I think legitimately Sukuna and Gojo are the two sides to that coin. So I think Gojo represents he's the strongest because he's Gojo, and Sukuna represents he's Sukuna because he's the strongest. You get what I'm trying to say? Because you know how they have the whole parallel where he's the fallen, you know, but above heaven and earth, he is the honored one, but Gojo is the proclaimed honored one. You get what I'm trying to say? So I feel like they're just the two sides of the same coin, but I feel like Gojo is like, it's gonna be kind of like hard to explain, but like, you see how like in like shonens usually, like, it's the main character that has to train a lot, you know, to get stronger, blah blah blah. Obviously we've seen Yuji, but Gojo, because he's not that type of character, like, yes, he had to train his technique, yes, he had to get better at using it, but like, overall he's always been the strongest. He hasn't really had to. I just feel like because Sukuna lived in the Heian era, I think that's just going to give him more of an edge in terms of, like, he actually had to grow to get this strong, whereas Gojo, he kind of already had this, if that makes any sense, and he hasn't really had a fight on par of Sukuna ever before. But
he's not actually going to win this fight. I don't know. I obviously I want to know what you guys think on this as well, but yeah.
And that's not me saying Gojo is weak either. I think Gojo is the second strongest character in the entire series. I think 20 Finger Sukuna is the strongest character in the series. So obviously we haven't seen him yet though, but Gojo is definitely broken compared to everyone else.
I think one of the big things about Gojo versus Sukuna is that my opinion and like how solidly I believed that Gojo would be the victor immediately was called into question when Megumi was taken over. And the reason I say that is because I think Gojo has a pretty decent argument for a majority of the series of like being the strongest. Gege makes like a bunch of external statements about Gojo's purpose being to be this like unambiguous, unconfusing wall of pure power in the verse, which I think kind of leads to the idea that he is, at least in Gege's plan at the beginning of the series, the unambiguous strongest. Without,
but you see how he said that, yeah? If you think about it, Sukuna is the exact same way. And that's another thing that people aren't bringing up. People keep saying that, yeah, Gojo is the strongest because that's what Gege said in the interview. And he's meant to be this ambiguous, like, level of power. But if you think about it, like, Sukuna's like fingers don't have like a set number of how stronger they make him. You get what I'm trying to say? So you never know. He might get to 20 fingers and might be 5 times as powerful as he was then at 19 fingers. You get what I'm trying to say? So his power level is ambiguous as well. So they are two sides to the same coin, and that's at least in my opinion, anyways.
obviously Sukuna being a good contender for him as the King of Curses and all that. But I do think that there's a lot that implies and kind of like really rams into your head that Gojo is meant to be that guy above all else. The thing is, though, we have some implications and statements from Gojo specifically about the 10 shadows in relation to the Limitless and the Six Eyes and the Gojo clan in general in the past. So what I kind of think is that the original 20 finger hand period Sukuna probably would have lost to the Gojo of today. So. But when you combine Sukuna's already like high level of power, competency with curse techniques and curse energy, and a technique that is in the past already been able to kill somebody with the Limitless and Six Eyes, it looks a little bit dicey for Gojo if he were to face 20 finger Sukuna by himself as he is right now. I think it's going to be a very, very tough fight, a very extended fight regardless of who ends up winning. Like, I think it's going to be probably the biggest scale fight we see in the series, and it's probably going to be one of the longer ones we see as well, just because this is a fight that has been built up to for like 200 plus chapters. Most people are waiting for this clash to come through and see who wins.
Yeah, well, I don't mean to like cut you off, but with what like Gojo said earlier in the series and everything, he brought up for a fact that someone in his past and someone in Megumi's past fought, and they both murked each other. They both killed each other in the end. So obviously they have the potential, and they were on the same level as Gojo. People don't think that they were, but he specifically said that they had Six Eyes and they were on the same level as him. So
see, exactly what I was saying. I'm not sure if even I said this a second ago, but this is exactly what I'm saying. Like, if you believe full power Megumi can beat Sukuna, then full power, then yeah, Gojo can beat Sukuna. You get what I'm trying to say? It makes sense.
The idea that he could actually lose to someone with Megumi's technique is just multiplied now that Sukuna has it. It's just insane to me. So
it really does kind of like change a lot, because like Ronan kind of hit this point when he was speaking of 20 finger Sukuna may not have been able to take Gojo, because I think it was always under a microscope whether Sukuna would be able to beat Gojo having the Six Eyes and Limitless. Sukuna's very strong. Even at 15 fingers, we were like, he could probably fight Gojo, throw hands back and forth, but we weren't really sure if they would be able to, actually do any significant damage to Gojo. But now with the 10 shadows, that really calls a lot into question. For the longest time, like Diavolo mentioned as well, if Gojo spoke so highly about the 10 shadows user from the past, and he spoke about how he was actually able to stalemate with the Six Eyes Limitless user, we had always assumed that had to do with Maharaga. But now that we see that we have the Madoka deer or round.
But it's crazy. I don't actually think Sukuna needs the 10 shadows to beat Gojo. I think if he had all 20 of his fingers, he'd beat Gojo. I know, that's probably the craziest thing that, like, you probably, because the consensus is that he needs the 10 shadows to beat Gojo. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think 20 finger Sukuna is probably stronger than Gojo. And it's just due to the fact that he has more knowledge on the soul, a better domain expansion. Like, it just stuff like that. I'm not even talking about in terms of techniques. I feel like it'd come down to a domain clash. And Sukuna has a stronger domain because he has a stronger control over his soul. That's what I think anyways, bro.
Deer that has the ability to repel cursed energy in its area of effect, as well as do reverse curse technique. That can potentially, possibly, at least maybe not nullify Limitless, but at least keep Gojo away and give the 10 Shadows another way to actually oppose Gojo. So there's more than one Shikigami besides Maharaga that gives Sukuna a way to kind of stop Gojo. And also Sukuna is just a master of the 10 Shadows technique. I really believe that Gojo just has to have something more in Limitless, or the Six Eyes has to have something that we haven't seen yet capable of, in order for him to actually stand a better chance against Sukuna. But I do think what's given me a little bit more confidence in Gojo is that with the Six Eyes, he's able to size anyone up that he needs to, right? So he saw Sukuna and inside Megami's body when he had that slight contact with him in this latest chapter. And he still wasn't deterred. He still had all the confidence in the world. So whether that was false confidence or whatnot, I still think that with the Six Eyes, Gojo would have known for a fact he would have been able to lose to Sukuna if that was the case. So he's...
But I don't even think it's false confidence. I think it's because, like, as a Jujutsu sorcerer, like, you need to have your own sense of self. So obviously he's going to be confident. I don't think it's false confidence, though, because they're in the same weight class. But if Gojo was truly that much stronger than 15 Finger Sukuna and Megami's body and Kenjaku, he would have just killed Kenjaku, knocked out Sukuna, and then tried to figure out a way to get Megami free. He would have just done that in seconds, and Sukuna wouldn't be able to do anything. But there's clearly a reason why he was like, cool, I tell you what, yeah, we'll go fight in the 24th, we'll fight on the 24th of December. Because think about it, like, he was like, yeah, I got some stuff I have to do, yeah, we'll fight later. Like, if you could just kill him, and then, if you could just kill Kenjaku and then take off a Sukuna, like, knocked out, then why wouldn't he? You get what I'm trying to say? And I know the counter to that is probably like, okay, but we know that Gojo and Sukuna are on the same level. But clearly, like, if Gojo was this much stronger than Sukuna right now, then he would just have his own weight anyways. You get what I'm trying to say? Like, there's no point of waiting until the 24th for this big, massive clash when he could just kill Kenjaku and take Sukuna. You get what I'm trying to say? There'll be no point. And that's why I feel like Gojo right now, he's confident against Sukuna right now. But if Sukuna had 20 fingers at this exact same fight, I think he'd be bugging out. He'd be like, what the hell? Like, after fight this brother, like, not in a, like, he's gonna run away, because that's not the character Gojo is, but he'd be thinking, what the hell? Like, I didn't think he'd be this strong. Because think about it, Gojo, no, not Gojo, Jogo got it wrong. What's to say that Sukuna, like, that Gojo, that's like Jogo, he got it wrong. So what's to say that Gojo knows what he's talking about when it comes to Sukuna's power? You get what I'm trying to say?
He's definitely got something more up his sleeve.
Yeah, for sure. And something else that I'm also like really expecting to see in this battle is a domain clash between Infinite Void and Malevolent Shrine. I feel like it's bound to happen since, I mean, not only are they the two strongest characters with arguably two or top three strongest domains, but for the first time in this series, we could potentially see how a closed barrier domain would interact against an open barrier domain. This is like a type of matchup that I know a lot of people have wondered, including myself. For all we know, the winner of a battle between two regular domains depends on the one that's more refined. But ever since Shibuya and ever since the Culling games, we've been introduced to several different types of domain expansions, Hakuri, Higuruma, Mios, etc. So, you know, I don't know if those irregular domains, including Kenjaku and Sukuna's, would follow that general rule of the more refined one would win, because at that point, how do we know which is considered the more refined? Also, since Malevolent Shrine has no closed barriers, then they're technically...
I think when it comes to the more refined, I think it's the stronger soul. I just think it's obviously worded a different way. The stronger soul would win. So the more refined one would be Sukuna's, in my opinion.
Wouldn't be a barrier for Infinite Void to overwhelm, unless I'm wrong. Again, I don't really know the implications, but overall, I'm just very curious and excited to see how this type of matchup would play out. And again, I feel like it's gonna happen since domains are like the supreme arts of the sorcerer, and hey, what better time to show a unique domain matchup with the two strongest characters.
But first, let's talk about the sponsor of this video, Extra Wallet. So guys, I can't express to you how much I love the Extra Wallet. I've been using it for this But I also like, and you guys earns and a free. Thanks for thinking about that, to be honest. Like, my mind just immediately goes to, like, the all, like, Dragon Ball Z. Like, what are they going to do? Like, are they just going to go start punching each other? Or, you know, whatever they're going to do. And then, like, then my mind gravitates towards the more nuanced stuff. Like, oh, how is, you know, completed, you know, sealed off barrier going to affect an open one? So that's why I'm glad you're here, Weeb. You know, you're going to bring those questions that I would never even think of. Diavolo, I like that you brought up that Gojo did seem kind of timid when he was answering that question, because I've always kind of felt that way too. Not that he wasn't confident, but
yeah, I'm thinking about it. Like, if Sukuna can open up his domain, I think it also means he could close off his domain. So think about it. If it's open, yeah, the whole trade-off is that because it's open, he has a larger, like, radius. You get what I'm trying to say? So if it's closed, there's clearly a benefit to it being closed, which means it's probably be stronger. So if that's how you do a domain clash, at least with a closed domain, like, if it had to be, if a closed domain interacts with an open domain and it makes the open one closed, Sukuna would win. And that's the way I see it, because he has a stronger soul, in my opinion. But you know.
But I do, you know, think he maybe is not entirely sure himself. I mean, yeah, he's going to bet on himself to win. He is confident, but man, it brings up what Ronan and Operator were talking about too, is that, yeah, probably original 20-finger Sukuna maybe not would have beat current contemporary Gojo, but obviously things have changed. We also know that, you know, what
I'm saying is that when he's like open, he's like shrine open, you'll see, he's broken. When you see that, and he does some next, you know what I'm saying, and you're thinking, what the hell is that? And he just goes and beats Gojo in one punch, then you'll be like, ah, cool. He's the king of curses, the honored one. Watch. When that happens, you know, come back to this video.
Yeah, the cursed object, you know, ancient sorcerers being reincarnated absorb, like, the memories of the people that they take over, so their knowledge becomes contemporary as well. But also, I'm glad, Ronan, that you brought up the conversation that Gojo had with Megumi, because that was going to be, like, one of my big talking points here. I was so curious as to what your guys' thoughts on this, but we never outright, like, fully stated what it said on the page. Just so for everybody's listening, let me go over that so we have some more context to it. So Gojo said, I think it was during the Edo period or maybe the Keicho period, I forget, but the heads of their respective households killed each other in a fight before the aristocracy. And then Megumi's like, back then, who were the heads? And Gojo said, a limitless curse technique user with the 6 eyes, like me for the Gojo family, and a 10 shadows technique user like Megumi for the Zenin family. And then he finishes that off by saying, you get what I'm trying to say, right? And that has always stuck with me. I was like, what does that mean? Does that mean that Megumi is, like, going to turn heel or something, and then he's eventually going to, like, fight Gojo at the end and then kill him or something? But now that Sukuna has taken over Megumi, and he is, like, the Michael Jordan of the 10 Shadows.
That's not the Michael Jordan.
He's the Michael Jordan of Jiu-Jitsu, essentially. But does this mean that this is kind of like a foreshadow and that history will repeat itself? Or what do you guys, like, ultimately think that this...
No, here's the thing. The only theory I would have with this year is that if it's foreshadowing, what's probably going to happen is that Gojo and Sukuna are going to stalemate, kill each other, but for some reason, because Sukuna's made us clear, he can cheat death. So what's probably going to happen is that by that happen, because I don't see Sukuna having 20 fingers when he fights Gojo. I don't know why. Like, if he's going to fight with the 10 shadows, I feel like he's not going to have 20 fingers, but I feel like if he does die, he's then going to, for some reason, move to his body, all 20 fingers, have all of his power, and then the entire main cast gonna be like, what the hell? Like, we can't fight that. Like, even with Gojo, I think we'd struggle. You get what I'm trying to say?
Statement by Gojo and Gege is trying to get across here.
100%. Think it's a foreshadowing by, like, Gege here for, like, what's actually going to happen in the future. Not necessarily that, like, Sukuna's going to win or Gojo's going to win, just that there's most likely going to be a battle between these two families. And, like, maybe he didn't even know necessarily at the time, you know, what he wanted to do. He just wanted to, like, hint, and now he knows. But, like, yeah, that's exactly what I think it is. It's just a massive foreshadowing to currently what's happening in the series and, you know, possibly even the final battle. Who knows, you know? Yeah. What do you guys think?
Something that I think is really cool. I'm sorry, Ronan, I'll let you go real quick. Something I really wanted to mention is that when Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 0 movie came out, Gege did this, like, nice real painting, right? He did a painting, and on the top of it, it was Yuta versus Geto. In the middle of it, it was Sukuna against Yuji. And then on the very bottom of it, it was Megumi facing against Gojo, but Megumi was turned turned upside down. And no one really knew what that was. Everyone was really kind of confused by that. But now we kind of know for sure that it is basically Megami fighting Gojo. But the reason why Megami was turned upside down is because Sukuna will be inside of his body. Yeah.
See, the reason why I believe 20 Finger Sukuna is not going to fight Gojo is because, well, if you look at this picture, okay, so it's like Megami versus Gojo. Like, think about it. I think Yuji is going to be the one to fight 20 Finger Sukuna because he's the main character. You get what I'm trying to say? I feel like Gojo is going to fight 15 Finger 10 Shadow Sukuna. And that's when they're going to stalemate. Then Sukuna is going to have his 20 fingers, you know, get full power. But I'm assuming what the trade-off is that when he's like this, when he's like going like body hopping, he can't die. Essentially, he can't fully die. But when he's in his full body 20 fingers, that's when he can die. That's what I'm assuming is going to be the trade-off. But
yeah,
I always look too far into it to like look at like the imagery of what he could be, you know, possibly saying and stuff. But half the time, you know, it's just an actual image of what what's going on. We're looking like too much into it. But yeah, no, it's mental. It's mental with what's going on right now.
Yeah, I think another thing that kind of adds to the sort of impact of Sukuna and Megami's body going up against Gojo is that we kind of have numerous characters by Gojo that he thinks like will surpass him or at least reach his level in the future. Yuta, Hikari, Yuji, those are all characters that he mentions very early on. I think it's in chapter 11 or 12 that he does plan on raising them to surpass him, right? Yuta and Hikari especially, he says that Yuji was someone that he expected to do the same. And, you know, while Megami isn't mentioned in this very specific instance, we see much.
Okay, it's already 25 minutes. I don't want to spoil the entire video, but obviously go subscribe to, let me see whose channel, because I know this has like all these other YouTubers, but whose channel? Go subscribe to Zonin. I'm pretty sure that's his name. And obviously all of these other channels as well, Fake Weeb, Diavolo, Broken Ronin, No Prayer. Go subscribe to them. All of them pretty good JJK YouTubers. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed. You know, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. But other than that though, hope you guys, you know what I'm saying, have a lovely day. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.